On April 8, 2009, Captain Richard Phillips steered the MV Maersk Alabama through the rough waters near Somalia's coast, working busily at the control board while watching the ocean ahead. While keeping track of the radar and checking their position, he noticed several boats far away on the water, completely unaware of the coming threat. Captain Richard Phillips didn't worry about them, thinking they were just local fishermen from Somalia. However, when the boats came closer, moving together in a planned way, his experienced sailor instinct started warning him of danger. "Everyone come up on deck right now," Captain Richard Phillips shouted through the ship's speakers. Armed pirates ready to fight quickly moved toward the cargo vessel. They had no idea that Captain Richard Phillips was planning something special for them. Earlier that morning, the sun came up over peaceful waters, making the MV Maersk Alabama glow golden as it moved steadily through the sea. The MV Maersk Alabama was carrying food and agricultural materials for the World Food Program, along with valuable cargo, including electronics and other supplies. Captain Richard Phillips, an experienced sailor who had worked on ships for many years, had done his normal safety checks while chatting cheerfully with his crew members. It seemed like just another ordinary day on their trip with nothing wrong, until he saw two boats in the distance. At first, he thought they were harmless Somali fishermen, which was normal to see in these waters. But as the boats got closer, Phillips knew his worries were right. Phillips knew that this shipping route went through dangerous waters. Standing on the ship's bridge, seeing armed men on the fast-approaching boats made him feel cold with fear. Being an experienced sailor, Captain Richard Phillips immediately took action. His hands moved quickly across the control panel, rapidly changing the ship's direction and speed. He gave clear orders to his crew, telling them to get ready for escape moves. Phillips's fast thinking and skilled sailing helped the ship cleverly avoid the two approaching boats. As the pirates got closer, Phillips pushed the ship as hard as it could go, moving through the waves with expert skill. The pirate boats moved quickly back and forth, trying to attack the ship from both sides. Even though they were chasing relentlessly, Phillips stayed calm on the outside. While his mind raced with plans, he used the ship's large size to help him, making big waves to make the smaller pirate boats unsteady. The waves crashed against the ship's side, each turn making a strong barrier against the attackers. But just when he started to feel a little relief, a sudden loud bang echoed through the ship's bottom. Phillips's heart dropped. He hadn't thought about a third boat hiding where he couldn't see it. The truth hit him like a huge wave. The pirates had beaten him at his own game. In just moments, armed men from the third boat grabbed onto the ship's side, climbing aboard like hungry predators. Captain Richard Phillips had weapons on the ship to protect himself and his crew. But he definitely didn't want this to become a shooting battle. He knew the best plan was to give up, let the pirates take control of the MV Maersk Alabama, and let his bosses deal with the problem later. Time was running out as the pirates got even closer to the ship's edge. Suddenly, in the middle of all the chaos, Phillips thought of a plan, and he couldn't help but smile. "If these pirates want to mess with my ship, they're going to get more than they bargained for," he said to himself quietly. After all, Phillips knew the MV Maersk Alabama better than anyone else. Captain Richard Phillips quickly grabbed the microphone and yelled a message over the speakers. He ordered every crew member to go to the cafeteria below deck. He also told them that pirates were coming on board, hoping his warning came in time. After that, he quickly turned off the ship's engines and shut down all the ship's systems, leaving it completely dark and adrift at the mercy of the ocean, exactly what Phillips wanted. As the crew followed his orders and went to the cafeteria, the pirates got on the ship. There were 4 of them, carrying old AK-47 guns. Even though they seemed disorganized, their sneaky way of getting on board showed this wasn't their first time. But the MV Maersk Alabama was much bigger than any they had ever tried to take before. Not sure where to start, the pirates waited uncertainly. Pirate Abduwali Muse, their leader, made a quick plan. They wanted to find the most valuable things that were easy to carry. One pirate suggested calling others for help, but Abduwali Muse said no. "We don't need anyone else." Muse told his crew firmly, "I don't trust other pirates, and I barely trust you guys." They knew other pirates would probably take the most valuable items for themselves. This was a job for just the four of them. To succeed, they needed to capture some crew members who knew how the ship was laid out. But the entire MV Maersk Alabama was covered in strange silence. The pirates looked at each other tiredly, feeling that this wasn't going to be easy at all. Captain Richard Phillips had stayed in the control room, watching their movements, and felt relieved when they separated. This split would make his counterattack simpler. He could deal with the pair first, then focus on the group of three. Phillips called his two second-in-command officers on the radio, telling them to lock the crew in the cafeteria and then meet him on the bridge. The commanding officers arrived quickly, ready to carry out the plan. The pirates had no idea their fate was being decided. The officers quickly left to set up the trap. Meanwhile, the two pirates on deck became more and more nervous, their fear of an ambush growing with each uncertain step. As the two pirates crept along the ship, their confidence weakened. The huge ship's silence was frightening. In the control room, Captain Richard Phillips and Shane Murphy quickly drew up a plan. They decided to use the ship's complex layout, setting up a trap in the cargo area. In the dimly lit cargo area, Phillips's crew started working quietly. They hung up cargo nets and put in hidden alarms, making a non-deadly trap around a carefully chosen container. Phillips watched as the two nervous pirates, Naji and Bilal, held their AK-47s tightly and moved toward the sound, thinking the rattling noise was hidden crew members. As they got closer to the sound, greed temporarily beat caution. They looked into the container, their eyes getting wide with amazement at the sight of shiny new smartphones. These expensive devices promised them wealth far beyond their wildest dreams. Hidden from view, Phillips and his team watched the pirates through a small opening. They waited for the perfect moment to act, setting the trap with careful attention. The pirates, now completely focused on their stolen goods, became more and more unaware of the coming danger. Their caution disappeared in their excitement. The valuable electronics and smartphones from the World Food Program shipment clouded their thinking. Their whispers echoed in the cargo area, not knowing that Phillips and his crew were listening. "Look at all these phones," Naji whispered excitedly to Bilal. "We're going to be rich." Captain Richard Phillips, steady at the trap's controls, watched every move from his hidden spot. Focused on the stolen goods, the pirates missed subtle signs of the trap. A door clicked shut behind them without being noticed. With a silent signal from Phillips, the trap was activated. The container doors slammed shut, locking Naji and Bilal inside. Celebration turned to panic as they realized they were caught. "Help! Get us out of here!" they screamed from inside the container. Phillips's team breathed out in relief, one threat eliminated. But the mission was far from finished. In the mess hall, Phillips gathered his crew and explained the next steps. Calm but urgent, he reminded them that staying alert was important. Going back to the control room, he quickly turned off all communications inside the container, making sure no warning would reach the others. On the security monitors, Captain Abduwali Muse and his remaining crew were visible. Their grainy images showed every move. Phillips studied them closely, staying one step ahead. Calling his team together again, he stressed the need for silence and stealth. Every decision now could mean life or death. He reached for the radio and contacted the Coast Guard. His voice steady, he explained their situation. "This is Captain Phillips of the merchant vessel. We have secured 2 pirates, but 3 more are still active and armed on board. 2 pirates secured, the rest still active and armed." The line crackled with static as he gave every important detail. After the message was sent, silence followed. All eyes stayed on the radio, waiting. Though they had called for help, Phillips knew they couldn't depend only on backup. The ship was hours from the nearest coast, and anything could happen in the meantime. Soon, the radio buzzed. The Coast Guard responded, acknowledging the danger and preparing a careful boarding plan. Their words gave hope, but time was still important. Phillips stayed sharp, continuing to watch Abduwali Muse's movements on the ship. Meanwhile, Abduwali Muse led his crew through the ship's hallways. The absence of Naji and Bilal was disturbing. Worried, he signaled his men to move quietly, checking each room with growing unease. The silence pressed in on them. With each empty space, the sense of danger got stronger. Tension grew as the pirates realized something was wrong. Nervous looks were exchanged. Abduwali Muse's mind raced, suspecting they were being watched. He moved with greater caution, knowing one wrong step could lead to disaster. From the control room, Phillips watched closely, analyzing Abduwali Muse's approach. Outsmarting him would require patience and strategy. He briefed his crew in quiet tones. Abduwali Muse was dangerous and unpredictable. They couldn't afford mistakes. Back in the hallways, Abduwali Muse's rising frustration exploded. In a burst of anger, he fired his weapon into the ceiling, the noise echoing through the ship. "Where is everyone?" he shouted angrily. "Come out now, or we'll burn this ship down." Sorry for the interruption. Before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It is very important for us. Thank you very much. His crew followed his lead, shooting into the air. Their attempt to force out crew members only served to show their positions, revealing just how vulnerable they had become. Captain Abduwali Muse's voice echoed through the hallways, shouting threats with growing intensity. His threatening tone made the tension worse, making the ship feel smaller with each passing moment. In the control room, Phillips remained calm. Focused on the security feeds, he calmly gave instructions to his team. Despite the escalating chaos, his manner was firm and controlled. Determined to prevent more violence, Phillips decided to face Abduwali Muse alone. Though risky, he believed a direct approach might buy them time and protect his crew. His team, clearly anxious, trusted his judgment. They continued securing the ship while Phillips prepared with non-lethal tools, stun gun, handcuffs, choosing strategy over force. Quietly moving toward Abduwali Muse's last known location, Phillips advanced through the silent ship. Every step carefully measured as he rounded a corner, he confronted Abduwali Muse and his men. The pirates raised their weapons, but Phillips held his ground, unafraid. Sensing his confidence, the pirates hesitated. Abduwali Muse studied Phillips, suspicious yet curious. In a calculated move, Phillips offered to lead them to the ship's most valuable cargo, hiding his real intentions behind calm surrender. "Look, I don't want anyone to get hurt," Phillips said with his hands raised. "I can show you where the really valuable stuff is." Greed clouded Abduwali Muse's suspicion, and he agreed, though carefully. "You better not be lying to us, Captain," Muse warned. "Lead the way, but no tricks." Phillips guided them through the maze of cargo, getting closer to his trap while staying calm. Eventually, they arrived at a container filled with sparkling jewelry. The pirates, temporarily fascinated, began filling their bags. Abduwali Muse's attention shifted to another nearby container, marked for high-value electronics. As he leaned over, Phillips acted. With a strong push, he sent Abduwali Muse falling into a hidden trap. Immediately, Phillips's crew jumped into action from hidden positions. The remaining pirates, caught by surprise, had no time to react. The coordinated takedown was swift and decisive. Within minutes, the crew had secured them all. "Got them!" Shane Murphy shouted triumphantly as they tied up the last pirate. With the deck under control, Phillips directed a search of the ship to ensure no remaining threats. They checked every room, locking doors and confirming the crew's safety. Phillips personally checked on his team, offering comfort as calm gradually returned. Not all crew members were entirely satisfied with how the situation had been handled, with some quietly expressing that the danger could have been avoided entirely. Once confident all were accounted for, Phillips returned to the bridge. On the horizon, the Coast Guard cutter appeared, its approach bringing visible relief to the crew. Phillips prepared the ship for the handover. As the Coast Guard boarded, Phillips led them to the captured pirates, including Abduwali Muse, still stunned by his capture. Before their removal, Phillips made a serious appeal to the officers. "These men committed crimes," he said, "but many are driven by desperation and poverty. I ask you to show some leniency." The officers nodded, acknowledging his words, and began their questioning. They praised the crew's bravery and strategy in resolving a dangerous crisis. With the pirates transferred and the threat eliminated, the MV Maersk Alabama resumed its course. Though the immediate danger had passed, Phillips knew that questions would be raised about the shipping company's decision to sail so close to known pirate waters, and some crew members were already discussing potential legal action against the company for putting them in unnecessary danger. A renewed sense of unity and quiet strength settled among Phillips and his crew, forged through the storm they had overcome, though the aftermath would bring its own challenges. Did you enjoy this story? If pirates boarded your ship, would you fight back or surrender immediately? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked the story, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Sometimes being brave means protecting others, even when you're scared. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.